when Halloween Horror Nights promises a spooky week, they deliver. We officially have all 5 original concept houses making their way to HHN Orlando this year. Plus, we got a little sprinkle of an announcement on top of that could potentially shape the future of HHN for its fans as we know it. Maybe we'll talk about it, but most importantly, you are likely a very well-informed spooky ghoul, and you know the houses that dropped earlier this week. What you may not know are some of those hidden details that were sprinkled in between. Today we are here to talk all about that and more, so sit back, relax, and let's get to it.
Now before we dive into anything at all, you and I have got to have a little chat, because this morning I was looking at that calendar and can you believe we're almost at that 50-day mark before opening day of HHN. It is that close. Now I know there's still a whole lot that we're waiting for. We still got a couple of IPs. We've got the scare zones, the food options, and the biggest elephant in the room is when are we going to get those frequent fear passes? But before you know it, HHN opening day will be here. So this is your friendly reminder that if you have not started planning for HHN, start booking that hotel, start setting those dates, start calling up your Scream Squad. Before you know it, it will all be here. Now, since we are in Hollywood right now, I do want to point out a quick construction update. We don't see any lighting rigs, no trusses, but we do see the lights themselves on multiple buildings, starting from all the way over there where the Wicked store begins and all the way through the 5 and Dime. And it looks like almost every single building has their lights installed. Baby, HHN is coming to life.
HHN is coming to life, and actually, Walk, if you look that way, they're turned on. So
wait, what? Where?
They're turned on, so if you walk from over there, it's actually
we gotta check this out.
blind.
We gotta test this out to see if power's right or not. Oh yeah. Are they testing? Because I know I see some regular lights, but I see one that's like a different color. It gives me like a pinkish vibe if you can see it from the camera. Things are coming to life. Woo!
In Central Park, aside from the trusses that we pointed out last week, not a whole lot going on. We do see this truss over here in front of the Central Park area. That could be there for something random, like the fact that 4th of July is coming up. However, I don't see any 4th of July celebration markers on it. Like we see there's some on the other side of the park in Music Plaza that already have their 4th of July celebration. So there's a lot of excitement in the air whether this could be for a potential lagoon show. Nothing has officially been announced. We still have to wait for those announcements. So let's get to that first dropped house.
Let's talk Hatchet and Chains Demon Bounty Hunters, baby.
Red hot lava demons, baby. Yeehaw!
Hell yes. I mean, they weren't playing around. When it came to Spooky Week, we kicked off a banger of a house.
We really did. I am so stoked for this house. But the first thing that I want to actually point out that you might have missed, because
I definitely missed it.
My dear Juan over here did miss it, is the fact that if you were reading the descriptions that were dropped on social media, you might not have gotten the full picture of what these houses entail, because the full description is actually on the Discover Universal blog.
Right.
It's similar. I will say that what you see on social media is kind of like an abridged version, but what is on the Discover Universal blog will definitely give you a little bit more of a better picture of what to expect in these houses.
Yeah, it covers a few extra details that you definitely didn't catch on social media.
For this video, we're going to be reading to you from what is on the Discover Universal blog when it comes to those descriptions. That way you also have that full picture as well.
That's right.
And to kick it off with Hatchet and Chains, in this old western town, all hell is breaking loose. Masses of red hot lava demons are crawling out of hell's well and trying to possess everyone, melting everything in their path. As you flee from the post office to the bank to the prison to the graveyard, your only hope is Hatchet and Chains with their arsenal of mystical weapons.
So you may have heard of Cowboys and Aliens. This is Cowboys and Demons. So it's going to be even more
red hot lava demons.
And we have already an idea of what this house is going to look like, because in case you missed it, we are going to basically be going through a longer version of what we saw in Slaughter Cinema 2 last year.
Yes.
And if you remember Slaughter Cinema 2, a couple of things that I wanted to point out. Number one being of how loud that room was. That was probably the loudest room of the entire house.
Listen, we went through Slaughter Cinema 2 so many times and we did not have earplugs, so I don't know if we're just like permanently damaged from that. But I am very excited to see how they're going to expand on that story.
Absolutely.
But I will say something that I personally missed that you brought to my attention earlier was the fact that we actually saw one of those red hot lava demons.
Yes, we did see a red hot lava demon inside of the house itself. and we saw both characters. So we saw Hatchet and we saw Chains. They all came out. And when you first enter the room, I don't know if you remember, if you did go to that house, you saw that there was a demon that launches at you with the chains on it. And if you really paid attention, the hole, it looks like the demon burned through the wall. So that kind of already tells us.
It was like a little spoiler.
Yeah, it kind of already gives an idea of exactly how this house is going to look like.
Somewhat.
Somewhat, yeah. Right. Of course, like I said, that was just one room. But that was number one. The other thing I wanted to point out was that Slaughter Cinema 2 was very campy. Hatchet and Chains appeared very campy as well. Even one of the Universal Creative team members, Jordan Hill, he tweeted out that this gives him Red Dead Undead Nightmare vibes. And if you know anything about what I'm talking about, that is a video game that was basically based on the West. It's basically a cowboy going through the zombie apocalypse. And it is very, very funny, very campy.
Yeah.
And so if it does give him vibes of that, on top of what we already know about Slaughter Cinema 2 from last year, I can 100% guarantee that this will be
the campy house.
The campy house.
Stamping it right now. The campy
100%.
House of the season.
Now I want to point out another thing, the artwork itself, because as you can see, we do see Hatchet and we do see Chains. And one thing that I want to point out specifically is Hatchet himself doesn't look human. It looks like he is a demon who is also helping Chains hunt other demons.
A demon hunting red hot lava demons. I'm just gonna say that from now on.
For the entire rest of the video.
If you ever see me at HHN, just come up to me and say red hot lava demons.
Oh my God! Don't actually. People are gonna start doing that.
I love it. I love it. We'll do it together. What I do mainly want to say is the fact that in this house, I am so excited that we are going to kind of just have this like fleeing feeling from like a post office to the bank to the graveyard through a prison. Right. We're going to be going through all of these like really interesting
like a
sets
real
with
Wild West.
Hatchet and Chains. Exactly, like a real Wild West.
If you look over here by the Nightmare Fuel / Fear Factor stage, right?
Former Fear Factor stage.
So there seems to be a little bit of construction going up over there.
Oh, I see what you're saying. With the lighting at the top?
With the lighting, but also there's kind of like a little house situation with a roof. You see
maybe
it?
Maybe at night we'll be able to see it. Oh, right there.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Okay, hold up. I had to take my glasses off, that's why.
Yeah, okay, walk. Okay.
My eye's a little itchy. I got a little dust in my eye. Couldn't see it. I don't want to dive into spec until we get something officially announced, but we see stuff moving, right? In there, we see a lot of these trusses around here too.
Right, which we talked about a little bit in our last video.
Yeah, exactly. And then Michael Aiello also did make a little reference that we're going to get a new director for the next show. I doubt that show would be a Lagoon show. So, you know, if you're connecting the dots, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to do a little dance to connect the dots, but you understand where I'm going with that. Let's talk about the next house. Dolls, Let's Play Dead. And without even reading the description, Dolls, creeped out. I'm cooked.
I do not like creepy dolls, so this is definitely going to be my phobia here. Now, I will say that when it comes to the Discover Universal blog, this one actually had some of the most interesting nuggets that weren't in the social media descriptions. No. You are about to become doll-sized and witness unnatural creations by a twisted little girl. You'll be haunted by fashion dolls.
Fashion dolls.
This is new, fashion dolls that she has burned and melded together. Then you'll go under her bed and be stalked by toys that she's stitched together, and you'll end in a creepy Victorian dollhouse where the undead horrors await you.
So the two biggest things that stood out to me there in comparison to the description that we had on social media, fashion dolls. So basically we're gonna be hunted by Barbies. And number two, going under the bed. So that tells you alone that the scale for this house is going to be
enormous.
Massive.
And not just that, but the creepy Victorian dollhouse.
Oh yeah.
I can just see like those like Victorian era style dolls in there.
Oh yeah, that's
just gonna be staring at you, but like huge. Oh my gosh, what if we get a mannequin? No, we'll definitely get a. I can see a mannequin room in the fashion doll section.
Oh, yes. Now we do have some initial tiny reviews from some of the Universal creatives. Jordan Hill also tweeted out that there's a lot of some off-putting stuff for this house.
Right, so that gives you kind of like an idea. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's gonna be a campy house.
Right.
I don't think so. I don't think
not only not campy. I mean, it could have some campy elements, but
it's
I'm telling you right now, it might not win House of the Year, but it's going to be very damn close for one reason, and that is the same writer behind this house, Charles Gray, part of the Universal Creative Team, also wrote a very famous house from 2014, Dollhouse of the Damned, HHN 24, and that house won House of the Year. Well, co-won with another house, but it's still won House of the Year. So that tells you the potential that this house has of how eerie and how creepy it was.
I will say that this is not going to be a direct story connection.
No.
It's a completely different house, different story. But there are parallels.
There are going to be a lot of parallels. I mean, it's the same writer. How can there not be?
And some of the stuff that you may have missed when it comes to the artwork.
Yes.
Here.
Couple of things. Number one is the creepy baby that we see in the bottom. Well, we see a lot of creepy things in this image alone. Let's be real. The tears of blood that are coming down the baby's face and at the top, the doll, and also the bottom corner. There's a pink doll head that looks like it has, you kind of pointed this out.
It reminded me of, obviously they're not going to take this from Toy Story, but if you remember in toys that Sid has, he has like this one creepy spider toy with like the doll
legs.
head. So this, on this corner of this photo, you have like this doll head that has like something like protruding out of it, and it just gave me like vibes of like that spider doll. I don't know, we're just going to see so many creepy things.
It is just as creepy with all of that being said.
With every house here, like we stamped the other house, we stamped Hatch and Chains as the campy house.
And this one we're stamping it as
the phobia house. Fear of creepy dolls. You
Meld
got
it together.
me.
We're cooked, folks.
We're cooked.
It's over.
We are
it's over.
cooked. And they're still up here, folks. They are still up here. Now, if you missed our last video, you'll know that we talked about the fact that San Francisco has had these trusses up for a while, and we're going to just go ahead and stamp them as the fact that they're going to stay as HHN trusses down into HHN season. Right now, these are up for, well, actually, I don't know what this first truss here is up for. This one doesn't really have any significance. Maybe.
The entrance to a scare zone.
Maybe. Let's see what actually pops up in San Francisco. A lot of excitement in the air on what is actually going to come here, but we'll talk about it once official announcements drop.
There's just something I want to point out super quickly. The entire day, that black crow, I don't know if you can hear it on the mic, has been following us since we were all the way on the other side of the park.
You know, Hawk, that
Tell me.
Edgar Allan Poe actually states that
what are you gonna say?
Black crow, or is it the raven? Is a crow and a raven the same thing? It signifies grief and loss.
Okay.
So,
are you saying
who are we grieving and losing?
I don't know. This thing just got really dark, but I would say it makes a perfect segue for the next house.
It does.
Grave of Flesh.
Grave of Flesh, or Grief of Flesh. No, just kidding.
Okay.
Grave of Flesh. Let's talk about it.
I'm going to say right now that this is probably going to be the most intense house when it comes to jump scares. I can already see just looking at that creature's face.
Right, because Dolls was more about phobia, as we said, but this one is definitely going to be just kind of like that true blue horror that Halloween Horror Nights is really known for with their original concepts. Welcome to your funeral, where things are about to go from bad to worse. You'll enter your grave and then pass through the gates of the underworld. Now, we had not heard that part before. Here, flesh eaters who feed on the dead will be waiting for you. You will get lost in their cavernous underground world, where an endless gauntlet of flesh-eating creatures will haunt you for all of eternity.
So the biggest thing that stood out to me here was the fact that it's going to be our grave. So it's going to feel like more personalized, our funeral. The initial description said our funeral. This just says
and you
our
might
grave,
have actually missed that, because we have a friend who actually did not really realize that this was not just like a general funeral. The way HHN creatives have written this out is to make us feel like we are entering our funeral. We are starting at our funeral. We are entering our grave.
And that makes it a whole lot more scary, because it plays into the whole afterlife concept. And that is something that I personally, like, obviously the house is not going to go that deep into our fears, But the idea of the afterlife and what comes after is huge when it comes to my fears. So the idea of this,
flesh-eating zombie alien-looking creature.
These things look disgusting. I mean, just looking at the graphic itself, it looks like an alien-looking creature, but mixed with like an aquatic monster.
Right. I actually thought of like the one with those like fishes with the light that light up with the light teeth. Like,
it looks like it has like a fin. Did you just do that bite sound? What was that? I don't know what that was, but anyway, that creature, I can see like a room where like maybe there's multiple of them, since we are gonna be hunted by many of them, where like the glowing eyes are getting closer to us, or like maybe there's like kind of like the curtain room in Insidious where you saw one of the red devils come out and another one, and just like constantly coming out from side to side.
Like ping pong scares.
I can totally see that. Now, the second thing is if you look at its arms, we have the vines that are wrapped around its arms, and that kind of plays into the bigger concept, the bigger theme of the entire event.
The overall event, the gothic tones and the textures
of vines. We see vines everywhere. Specifically, good examples over at the 5 and Dime, right at the top. A lot of people are comparing this house to Graveyard Games, which was a huge popular house in 2019. Yes. I can see a lot of parallels to that, but however, I feel like this one is going to be more, we're going to have the cemetery at the beginning, and then it's going to move us straight into the underworld, where the majority of the house is going to play in the underworld.
The darkness of the underworld. I can wait, and I also cannot wait.
It's going to be an intense house. I can feel that.
Now, with every single one of these houses, we have been kind of giving in the stamp of what we think this house is going to be known for, labeled as throughout the season. And this one, I'm going to give it the smelly house.
The smelly house.
The smelly house. The house of smells.
Right.
If you've been coming to Halloween Horror Nights for quite some time, you know that every single year we'll have one or two, a few houses that have very distinct smells. The Major Suites. It doesn't always have to be like a bad smell. Major Suites was one.
Yeah, every year they basically bring those kind of smells.
So this one I can see just kind of like this like underground, underworld smell, death.
I can see the cemetery, like the ground, the dirt, the cemetery, and then since we are going into the underworld, like maybe some kind of like sulfur smell. You know what I mean? Like but all in all, I really do think that this was going to be, out of all the originals, the most intense for sure.
Intense / smelly.
On top of that, yeah. Woo, New York, baby. Last time we were here, we didn't see a lot of construction updates. In fact, I don't even think we pointed out a single thing. But now that we're in this area, I'm gonna count it right now. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I mean, from the eye right now, did I count that one? 15. I'm seeing 15 sets of lights on top of buildings across the entire, I was gonna call it scare zone. It's not a scare zone yet, but the entire New York street here. I mean, this place is coming to life.
It almost feels like this is just like the video of lights.
I was about to say, we should name this video Lights, Lights, and More Lights Updates, because that's all we've been seeing.
As we make our way across, there are more, obviously, lights, and more lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 on this side. And then a couple more up here, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 22. I don't know if you caught that up there, did you?
I didn't see that section, no. Wow. It's just so many lights. Are you done?
Oh, guess where we are. Guess where we are.
We had to travel around the world pretty much to finish this video for you, because we're not leaving until we talk about all of those houses. So we ended up here in Seuss Landing at Islands of
Adventure City Walk right now. I mean, we are still celebrating Pride Month, and there are concerts over there. It is just a vibe. It is so fun, but it is so loud. Thankfully, Islands is still open for one more hour, and let's get into Gulkin Monsters of the North. We put out a poll earlier this week, and you said that this was your most hyped house.
Based on the description alone, I feel like this house already sounds like it's going to be an incredible.
And with that, the description from the Discover Universal blog still gave us a little bit extra. In a remote northern village, a wicked being arises from the dead, bringing a horde of monsters and demons from the fjords to wreak havoc on the townspeople. We're going to kind of be going through a town where all these monsters are coming from the fjords. Yes. Now you will face icy, horned, winged, and wolfish fiends that gradually merge into one giant horror. Then you'll try to escape the belly of the beast.
Looking at the description, you already know that this is going to be based off of Norse mythology, in case you didn't know that. And the dead giveaway is basically the word Gulkin, which translates in Old Norse language to monster. So basically what this title is saying, it's Monsters of the North, which rings very similar.
Yes, if you haven't caught that,
Yeah.
last year we had a house which a similar ring to
Right.
it.
So Monstros, the monsters of Latin America.
Monsters of Latin America.
Which
Gulkin, Monsters of the North.
Exactly. There's a lot of monsters that we're going to see here from the Norse mythology. I
That
feel
we
like
could
that we could potentially
potentially
see.
see. Yes.
So I can totally see them include anything from a kraken, a serpent, a troll, a dragon. I mean, if you really think about it, this is kind of like the adult version of How to Train Your Dragon, a little bit, with like some
Kinda
creatures
Viking
and yeah.
dragons, maybe. I mean, a lot of people are calling this the Viking house. I don't
Yeah.
really see it as much as a Viking house, more
Right.
like a mythological creatures.
Now, going back to the creatures, of course, we already know two of the creatures that are going to show up at this house automatically
Because
based
they're
on
in
the
the
artwork itself. So you have the sinister looking, what it looks like a werewolf on the side. So it's like the companion of the demonic creature in the middle. And that really evokes the Norse mythological creature called Fenrir. And that is basically a colossal, think like the size of a building, like huge colossal wolf that just invokes
Chaos
yes,
and destruction.
Right, and it even plays into the end of the world, so Ragnarok. It's like a whole thing that goes into the lore. Now the creature at the center of it all, the demon, what looks like a demon with the antlers, and it kind of looks a little bit like Pau. That one, when it comes to Norse mythology, really gives off the vibes of another creature called Draugr, and that is a supernatural being. It's also actually supposed to be the most feared in Norse mythology. So we can definitely see her appear throughout the house summoning these creatures. I can totally see
maybe
that.
she's the belly of the beast. Maybe she's who we have to
Absolutely.
fully escape from to be able to escape this house. We don't know, but it's going to be really exciting to see how
huge.
Universal plays this out and the scale and everything. Now, other parts of this graphic that you may not have caught onto is actually the top of it. It shows
Right.
kind of like the northern lights,
Right.
and we see the snow all
Right.
around this artwork. So
Right.
with that, I am labeling this, stamping it,
The cold,
cold
house
house.
of the season.
our fifth house, El Artista, a Spanish haunting.
Artista.
Yes. Now, this house, it does have a little bit more of a lengthy description in the Discover Universal blog. In 19th century Spain, a tortured artist moves into an isolated country manor to seek inspiration, but instead, as he wanders the ghostly hallways and the haunted conservatory, malevolent spirits break into our realm through his paintings. He tries to resist, but the art comes to life and possesses him. Now you're about to be part of the permanent exhibition. A little bit of different things that we saw here were the
Right.
fact that the ghostly hallways that he's walking
Yes.
through, that I am assuming we will be walking through as well, which actually connects to Spooky Empire when Ramon Paradoa talked about how we may or may not see ghosts walking through walls.
That's going to be crazy.
So that is
It's gonna
going
be
to
so
be
crazy.
so exciting.
Something that you may have missed. If you look at the concept art, right, you see the big Spanish manor. And you look, there's multiple windows on the manor. But if you count only the ones that are glowing red, you get a total of 10 windows, meaning 10 houses for HHN.
Yes.
And the Universal creatives behind this already said that we're going to see a lot of things from the house itself.
Right, connections through the entire event. Laura Souls,
Exactly.
talking at Spooky Empire, talked about how this house is the anchor house to the entire event.
Exactly.
So we're getting a little bit of a clearer picture that we are going to see kind of like Easter eggs of the other original houses in El Artista, a Spanish haunting.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing I want to mention as a missed detail that maybe you weren't aware of, the scenic set designer for this house, Dylan Kolath, is actually the same scenic set designer that we saw for Blood Moon and
Dead Man's Pier.
Dead Man's Pier.
Yes. So two very beautiful houses,
Yes.
and on top of all that, we have proof. Jordan Hill tweeted out that this is top 3 prettiest houses ever built. Think
It's
about
gonna be a beautiful house, which means to me that it's gonna be a house with a really large budget.
On top of that,
Yes,
would
I
say
can
so.
see this house going in a soundstage. I am labeling this, stamping it, the beautiful house. And I'm gonna go a little extra step forward. I'm gonna say that this is gonna be the house of the year. I said it last video.
House of the year?
I'm gonna say it this
yeah,
year
we kinda
again.
did, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think this is gonna be the house of the year. And that final update for today.
We've got to talk about
We've got to talk about it. Universal Horror Unleashed. Universal Destination Experiences dropped on us this week that Universal Horror Unleashed is expanding and
To the Midwest.
to the Midwest for the first time ever. HHN Vibes will be coming to Chicago, Illinois.
Which is
Oh,
huge.
It is a huge deal. Now, Universal Horror Unleashed is set to open in Las Vegas in just a few months at this point, which we will be there opening day.
Opening day.
We are so excited for that, and I guess we got to add Chicago to
That's
that
right,
list
and
now.
we're taking you along for the ride, so get ready.
Now, this Universal Horror Unleashed in Chicago will be housed in the former Chicago Tribune building, which is huge. It is just
And right in front of the Chicago River.
right along the Chicago River.
top of
So that is going to be insane. It is set, according to NBC reports, to start construction in 2026 and hopefully open in 2027.
On the one hand, I've seen some people online question why they would open something so early if we haven't had reviews yet for Las Vegas. But they are betting on
just
this
shows.
performing so well.
Right.
And HHN is just horror in general when it comes to Universal, such a popular thing. Look at how great and how much everybody loves Dark Universe, for example.
Right.
How everybody loves HHN on both coasts. This, I'm calling it right now, is going to be successful. I can see HHN to a point, get to a point where we're going to see it in every major city.
I will say, because a lot of this backlash is coming from a lot of folks who are very used to being in theme parks for Halloween Horror Nights. I don't think, and don't come for me, but I don't think that this is geared towards a theme park audience.
No, not at all.
I think that this is more geared toward a horror audience
Right.
who wants to experience something completely new in these major cities. We are theme park people and we will be traveling to these areas, but if you're someone who only comes to theme parks and enjoys Halloween Horror Nights because it is a theme park, then maybe this experience might not be for you per se. I don't know. We'll see. We'll
Right,
see.
depends.
But
We'll see.
this is really exciting. Just
super.
exciting to see
If you're a horror
Universal
fan-
expanding. With that, thank you so much for being here and sticking with us throughout this video.
If you have watched up to this point,
This is the word of the day. What's the word of the day?
subscribe.
No.
What's the word of the day?
We need a word of the day for somebody who's
Word-
watched all the way up to this.
Deadly Natter.
Deadly Natter, because we're sitting right under the Deadly Natter. Put that in the comments. Let us know that you watched all the way up to this point. We love you. Thank you for being here. We'll catch you next week. 10:18. We have been here all day. They're kicking us out. Let's go. Both parks have closed. Let's go.